Like I told you guys, last week was a rough one, but week 2 we bounced back. Let's keep that momentum rolling. I got running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks that we need to be picking up on the waiver wire this week in fantasy football. Without further ado, roll the intro. And before I get right into the waiver wire ads we must be adding in week 3 for fantasy football, I'm going to go ahead and put about 6 names on a list here on the screen. If any of these players are still available in your leagues for some reason, make sure you go grab them. But I feel like at this point, most of the people who watch my videos already have these players added in their fantasy football leagues. So again, if you for some reason have any of these players available in your leagues, make sure you go ahead and add them, and let's keep it rolling. Starting with Basil Tootin of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He may just be 2025's version of Bucky Irving, but we may have to just wait for that to be the case because Travis Etienne has not shown us yet that he's going to lose his job in terms of snaps played in the offense. Basil Tootin only played 25% of the snaps last week, and that's with Tank Bigsby being traded away from this offense. So we probably should have been looking for more of a 30 to 33% snap count for Basil Tootin last week. Unfortunately, he was just at 25%, but we've seen him get 8 carries, 2 receptions, and a touchdown. We like what we've seen in a short sample so far of Basil Tootin, so definitely add him if he's available in your fantasy leagues, and let's keep him on our bench and hope for the best, and maybe he breaks out and becomes our starting fantasy running back. Keeping it here for the running back position again, let's talk Chris Rodriguez, and better yet, Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols, and discuss what are we going to get out of this backfield in Washington with Austin Ekeler probably being out for the season. We know Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt is going to be the starting running back. He is a phenomenal runner when given the opportunity. He's had limited sample size so far this year, has been pretty good for the most part. Yes, he had a bad week too, but regardless, he is not going to be a pass-catching back for the Commanders in this offense. So where are we going to look to fill the void and need of what Austin Ekeler provided for the Washington Commanders? A pass-catching running back that can sprinkle in some carries. Both Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols fit this role and fit this model as players. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually wins the job between the two of them. I know before in the past I've mentioned to add Chris Rodriguez before week 1. He's been injured and has not played yet this season, so I was wrong for that. Now we're in an interesting situation where because Ekeler got hurt, he's now a fantasy football waiver wire ad yet again. But now if you can't get Chris Rodriguez for some reason, I would definitely go ahead and pick up Jeremy McNichols if he's available. I think he has just as good of a chance to fill that Austin Ekeler complimentary role as Chris Rodriguez does in this backfield. If I had to give my prediction on who I thought was actually going to win this Washington Commanders backfield, I would say that Chris Rodriguez, the more healthy player, is going to win the job long term. But in this short term, in the next 2 weeks, if you're really looking for that plug and play running back, an absolute need that's going to get you receptions in a PPR league, definitely look to add Jeremy McNichols because I think that name is going to fly a little under the radar in most leagues. Whoever we add them, keep them on our bench, and just monitor how things are going to look going forward because it's really anybody's job to take at the moment. Shifting our focus to wide receiver now, Wan'Dale Robinson had a phenomenal game against the Dallas Cowboys last week, and we should be picking him up. And no, it's not because of one shootout game that went to overtime against the Dallas Cowboys. Dating back to last year, if you play in a PPR format, Wan'Dale Robinson has been phenomenal in terms of PPR. He gets a ton of receptions, albeit not that many yards, but has a chance for a touchdown. And if you're seeing that many targets and you play in a PPR league, there's no reason why you shouldn't have Wan'Dale Robinson already rostered on your teams. If for some reason Wan'Dale Robinson is not available for you, we mentioned in the beginning of the video, Alec Iamanair is a good ad if still available. And if neither one of those players are, look no further than Troy Franklin. We've been talking about this player since last week. Last week we said add this player before it's too late, and now look where we are. It's too late. Just by looking at the snap counts of who played on the Denver Broncos offense last week, we were able to identify and see the connection that maybe Troy Franklin is potentially making a step forward in his second season in the NFL as he looks a lot better as a route runner, looks more complete as a wide receiver, and is no longer just a vertical option in this offense. I said it last week, I'll say it again. I truly believe that Troy Franklin is going to turn out to be what everyone thought Marvin Mims Jr. was going to be. And no, that doesn't mean that this is going to be some great player, but in terms of grabbing a wide receiver that has potential sneaky flex value in an offense that could boom for you some weeks, Troy Franklin's going to be that. So if he is available, which he should be, unless you watch my videos, of course, then that person probably has him in your leagues. Let's proceed. We'll talk the tight end position here. Couple guys that stand out. Harold Fannin Jr., someone I didn't talk about last week. I've now seen 2 complete weeks in a row where Harold Fannin Jr. has been a viable part of the Browns offense. Joe Flacco, the quarterback, is going to continue to pepper him with targets, and as long as that is the situation in Cleveland, I have to say Harold Fannin Jr. is a great add and albeit great start in fantasy if you need a tight end. Again, as long as Joe Flacco is the quarterback here in Cleveland, you're going to get the opportunities with Harold Fannin Jr., so play him as long as Joe Flacco is starting. The second player I really like on the waiver wire this week, Brenton Strange, someone that I predicted was going to explode in this matchup last week. I'm sorry about that. I was wrong. I'm not perfect. We'll trade Troy Franklin for Brenton Strange any day of the week. Brenton Strange still continues to be a tight end play that is going to see volume and opportunities in this offense, and as long as Brian Thomas Jr. still continues to struggle, that's going to open up more opportunities for Brenton Strange short term and not so much long term. Finally, the quarterback position. I think everyone unanimously agrees that this quarterback must be added in fantasy at this point. Daniel Jones, very similar to Sam Darnold last year, has taken the world by storm in the first 2 weeks of the season with his stellar play in fantasy football. I didn't like Daniel Jones' matchup last week against the Broncos, but he still shredded them regardless. But I'm going to be mindful and say temper your expectations for Daniel Jones in week 3, but you can definitely go ahead and play him in week 4 against the Rams. And if you couldn't keep up with that Jones, then definitely go ahead and pick up Mac Jones. Oh, that was a bar. Mac Jones looked solid. I'm not going to overstate it or undersell it at all. He had a pretty solid game, and just like any other 49ers quarterback that steps in for whoever the starter is, you're usually going to get a guy that just keeps the ship afloat, doesn't do too much, but isn't going to turn the ball over and lose you a fantasy week. So for that, I like Mac Jones just as much as I like Daniel Jones being added in fantasy this week. I don't think you want to start either one of these quarterbacks in week 3 coming up, but for someone that needs a quarterback next week in week 4, maybe if you're a Joe Burrow fantasy owner, maybe you're worried about Jaden Daniels' future, maybe you have a different quarterback that's out, I think Mac Jones and Daniel Jones, keeping up with the Joneses in week 4 is going to be your best bet starting a quarterback, because Mac Jones is going to play, I guess we could call it a revenge game at this point, the Jacksonville Jaguars, which even if it's not a revenge game, a great matchup for Mac Jones. Daniel Jones is going to play the Rams, which it's not guaranteed they're going to be in a shootout, but I like that matchup for their running attack. We covered quarterback, covered running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We got all of the major positions out of the way, but don't go anywhere because I'm going to give you a little trinket of information to go along with that. To let you in on a little secret, I don't even want to do this because I don't want people in my fantasy leagues at home to beat me to the punch. But you know what, Outlier Militia? I'm going to do it for you guys. The sneakiest ad on the waiver wire you can make this week is go ahead and grab the Seattle Seahawks defense this week. They're playing the New Orleans Saints, Spencer Rattler. I have been starting each of the last 2 weeks and recommending you start whoever plays the New Orleans Saints, and each of those defenses have been very successful. I would assume that trend would continue with the New Orleans Saints playing them. So now I basically covered everything. The little positions, we've got defense in there, and we've covered all the major positions that we should be adding on the waiver wire this week. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you love these picks? Do you hate these picks? Do you think these players suck? Definitely let me know in the comments. We could have a discussion about it. If you're new here, you like fantasy football content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Costs you nothing. It would absolutely make my day. And if you've already been subscribed, thank you for subscribing. If you like this video, and only if you like this video, make sure you smash that like button for your boy. That's all the time I have for you guys today. We'll definitely try to do another snap count video week 3. That was the best video we did by far last week, so thank you guys for the support. And of course, we're going to do our start sits because I'm on a heater right now. But seriously, that's all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video. Wow, you stuck to the end of this video? Thank you so much. If you're new here, make sure you check out one of these videos on the screen right now. And don't forget, before you leave, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any fantasy football videos on this channel. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.